Well, it is that time on a Tuesday morning when we get to delve into our local history. And there's only one person that we like to do that with, and that is, of course, the one and only Harold Peacock from History Out There. How are you, mate?
Fantastic, Damo. Yeah, I've got a little bit of a double story for you today, just a recap and then extending that to an amazing history at Warwick Way.
That's right, because this one was a story that you told us about this Darling Downs airman who used magic to escape from the Turks. But, well, there's more in the family, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Look, I'll just recap. That airman was Group Captain Cedric Hill, and he was born at Maryvale, just outside of Warwick. He studied to be a magician before the First World War, served with the Royal Flying Corps, was shot down and captured. He then used his conjuring skills to escape from the Turkish POW camp. Now, he remarkably escaped, and that was just like his grandfather had from a controversial parliamentary career not too many years earlier, and that's what I'll tell you about now.
All righty. Well, let's get into it, mate.
Yeah, no, his name was Charles Henry George Carr Clark. Yep, 5 names in one. Now, he was born in Van Diemen's Land, or Tasmania, in 1832. In 1861, he settled here on the Darling Downs, where he and his brother George Clark established a successful sheep farm on the old Talguy station.
Right.
Now, they were credited with introducing the paddock system into Queensland, and that replaced shepherding, so put fences up instead of people out there looking at sheep. The Clarks introduced that. Now, the brother George was elected to the Queensland Legislative Assembly to represent Warwick in 1867. But he lasted only a year, which probably delighted him because he hated it. Anyway, George won the seat back for the family in 1871, and that produced some of the most remarkable scenes in Australian political history. And so it was on Friday, the 4th of August, 1871, around 2,000 people gathered around the Warwick Courthouse to hear the outcome of the election. At 5:30 p.m., the returning officer mounted the hustings and declared the numbers. The incumbent, James Morgan, 265 votes, and Charlie Clark, 282.
Wow.
So it was a narrow victory to Charlie, but because Morgan's name was called first, his supporters began celebrating. and cheering. They went wild. That went on for quite a while. But when it was heard that Charlie had won, things turned nasty.
Oh.
Yeah, his brother George, on behalf of Charlie, said a few words of thanks and was hoisted upon the shoulders of supporters and carried into the street. But they were followed by an angry mob. A melee broke out as George was pulled off the shoulders of supporters, kicked and punched. Charlie's supporters were knocked down and kicked. Some had to be rescued and dragged into a nearby hotel or flee for their lives. Others showed some fight and stood up to them until they were knocked senseless by rocks. Now, 2 were thrown down, dragged and kicked until they were almost dead.
Oh.
By about 8:30 p.m., the mob was armed with palings and bombarding with rocks the hotel where Charlie's supporters were held up. Now, the mob was on the veranda about to demolish the place when someone there fired a gun.
Oh.
Now, more shots were fired and several people were actually wounded. One man was shot in the jaw, another 2 in their hands. And so from 5:30 to 11 o'clock that night, it was simply not safe for a supporter of Charlie Clark to be seen on the streets of Warwick. And the police there could do nothing because they only had 4 constables against that whole riotous mob.
Wow.
Now, in any case, Charlie took his seat in Parliament, but it only took 5 months before Charlie was again in it, up to his eyeballs. It was on Tuesday, the 10th of January, 1872, and Queensland's first Attorney General, Ratcliffe Pring, repeatedly interrupted a speaker. Now, Charlie took offence to this. He interjected to complain about Pring's offensive remarks and proceeded to make insulting comments himself. So abuse was exchanged between the two, and the Parliament descended into an uproar. which you might say, oh, what's new?
Yeah.
But what's new comes next. You see, Pring then performed an unprecedented act before or since when he went over and pulled Charlie's whiskers.
Oh, no.
I know, right? He challenged him to go outside to settle it and then raced out of the chamber and couldn't be caught. Now, the Speaker issued a warrant for Pring's arrest, but Pring resigned and fled to Dalby in a bid to escape justice. You know, people might do that today. Dalby might be safer, but anyway, Charlie's parliamentary career came to an end the following year anyway, when James Morgan, whose supporters had rioted 2 years earlier, regained the seat. And Pring, the Attorney General, he was re-elected. Charlie's daughter, Maria, married George's son, George Jr. They were first cousins. Charlie moved to Tenterfield, where he died, and so was lost to Warwick and Queensland forever.
Wow.
Now, Damo, you posted a photo of Charlie Clark on Facebook.
Yes, we did.
And it would be very tempting to pull his whiskers because they are quite impressive, don't you think?
Oh, I think so, yes.
Yeah, and what a remarkable parliamentary career Charlie had, with a full-on street riot and an assault by the Attorney General, and he escaped it all unscathed, much like his magician grandson did come the First World War.
Well, there you go, mate. Another great story. And, yes, if you jump onto the 4AK Facebook page, you can see a photo of those whiskers. And, yes, you're right. They are tempting to have a good yank on, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Look, and I'll be posting, well, I'll be reposting that photo you got, but I've got some others, and there's some pretty good whiskers back in the day, so I'll post them all on my website this Friday. That's historyouthere.com.
All right, you can have a look at that story and many others by jumping onto that website, historyouthere.com. Mate, another great story, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Oh, look, I think I'm going to look into that riot because a whole lot happened in that riot in Warwick back in 1871. I think there's a few stories there.
And I'll tell you what, mate, the Warwick band, the band there in Warwick, just celebrated 160 years.
Well, I just wonder if they were playing at the election. So if there's any of them there that are still around, ask them, do they remember it? But congratulations to the band. That's fantastic history for the town.
It is great, yeah, mate. And great history from you as well. We'll look forward to catching up again next week.
See you then.